I'm glad to be here, glad to be talking to all of you. I can see a lot of youngsters, next generation taking over, which is great. My little discussion, I'm going to leave some thoughts with you. The idea of my talking to you is that to provoke some thoughts, leave some thoughts with you. How should you spend your day today, and what kind of questions you should be asking your colleagues, your friends in the groups, and what should you be seeking from the speakers when you listen to them over the course of next few hours. Also, some thoughts may get provoked for you to to see what you should be doing in your career or in your learning journey as you go along in next few months or years. So with that, let me start with a little story which I like to share when I speak on such events. So this was about 10 years ago, and I was in Malaysia handling the ASEAN markets for Johnson & Johnson, and we had a conference like this, which I was in Diksha's place organizing it, and it was internal. And we were celebrating SAP implementation, latest version of SAP with a lot of pride. All the finance guys like in this room, very proud people, CFOs, CFO -1, we all had got together. And I'm presenting like this, talking about achievements, talking about implementation of JD Edwards and then SAP and an SAP newer version. I'm talking about 2010, 2011, or 12 years ago. And after about 10 minutes of talk, I invited my chairman to speak to us, chairman of ASEAN. Business person, he comes and first he thanks and tells us, you guys are great. Finance guys, really number crunchers, do a great job, great business partners. He said, but, and then the but came and my heart almost sank. I said, what is this but? He said, the thing is that you guys are 98%, 99% accurate. You are up there, 99. Yeah, and you're trying to improve from that 99.2 to 99.3 and 99.4 and 99.5%. Yeah, he says, but we as business leaders don't need that. For decision making, even 90, 93, 94% accuracy level is good enough. I don't need to improve upon 90. So you guys are fantastic at 99.2%. Now, what you're doing, spending months and months, is it going to help me as a business leader? Think about it. So what do you really need from us? He said, I want you to start thinking about future, not about the past. Get out of the mindset of thinking about the past. You're very comfortable putting numbers which are past trends, how the years went by, how the month went by, how the quarter went by. But what I'm looking at is how the future would look like. What would happen? What is predictive, telling me? What are the forecasts for next quarters, months, years? I'm more interested in that side of it. You guys are telling me about revenues booked in the books, revenue growth as recorded in the financial books. I'm looking at what is the customer offtake, consumer offtake at the shelf, which is 3 levels removed from my company. The company sells to wholesalers, distributors, retailers, and then the consumer. I'm not interested in what I've sold to the distributor. I'm interested in finding out through technology, through whatever tools you use, SAP or no SAP, but how much is the consumer buying and picking up to consume, which is not in the financial books, which means analytics. He's talking about analytics here, right? You guys don't talk about people, right? The HR numbers. You talk about HR cost. I'm more interested in finding out what kind of people I have, what kind of resources I have in the company. For example, are they my employees? What kind of profile? What kind of background? Where can I move them? How can I group them? How can I grow them? You have cost numbers, cost of goods sold. I want to know the elements of that. For example, if inflation goes up by, or if crude prices, at that time the crude was going up dramatically, $140, $150, $160. I remember that. If the crude is going up by $10, how much should I be increasing my price per unit to remain cost neutral? So that's what I need, which your financial books don't tell me. Your SAP, unless you really find those tools and technologies, I really, I can applaud you. I'm happy with what you're doing. But that improvement from 99.2 or 99.3 to 99.5 will not really help me as a business leader to take my decisions. That left a pretty important thought or afterthought in my mind. And since then, I've been thinking and talking about analytics and digital, and how should we as finance guys be imbibing, adopting the digital journey. A lot of people tell me that accounting is no longer done by accountants, which is true. A lot of my friends who are in CFO positions, they don't look for accountants to do accounting. Accounting is a science which is done by machines and by IT people now. It's not done by BComs. Accounting is a science. It's not an art. It's all defined. And either machines do it or human beings who are not accountants, they do it. So finance guys have moved or need to move away from the concept of bookkeeping and accounting to how do you mirror the CEO and help the CEO or the business leader, BU leaders, to take smart decisions. And they'll come based on data, right? And we'll talk about it in a few minutes. But this is a thought and background I want you to keep on the back of your mind when you go through the session today, that how do we as finance guys add value to the business by thinking differently away from accounting and be smart business partners, literally mirror the CEO in everything they do. Yeah, with that, let's just, I have 3 or 4 slides, not too many. I'll be happy to take questions more, in fact. So, if I look at, this is not coming full for some reason, but it's okay. Can you help this to come in the center? Or maybe make it smaller? So, the CFO role, it's about driving growth along with the CEO. Sustainable growth. Not growth in 1 quarter or 2 quarters, not by number crunching that I somehow show growth by doing smart number crunching. No, it's about sustaining the delivery of growth, thank you. And long-term value creation is what the CEO is looking at the CFO. That how do I really create and deliver long-term value? And I think the role is twofold, support and challenge. So support the business, that doesn't mean that we accept what they say. So I as CFO have always questioned the CEO because I've been told that my responsibility is twofold, to the business and to the board. To the board in the fiduciary capacity that controls and compliances are in place, and if CEO goes wrong, I need to be the first one to question him or challenge him. So that's a challenge role. Also, capital asked for or pricing asked for, does it make sense? A new business model to be launched, does it make sense? So that challenge role is a very important role. And this is to actually make strategic decisions, strategic business decisions and investment choices. It really helps in both of these. So you need to support the CEO. Don't say this can't be done. I will tell you how it can be done and how it can't be done. More how it can be done. So the enabler approach. Challenge but also enable. And not say, oh, sorry, my policy, my rule says it can't be done. I've encountered and I've had in my team people who will tell the rule book, oh, ये तो हो नहीं सकता, लिखा हुआ है इसमें. This is तो possible ही नहीं है, allowed ही नहीं है ये तो. No, that concept is gone completely. That even a non-finance guy can tell you, right? So what does it need? How will it get done? So you need to use a robust data, technology, some strong processes which you need to implement in your respective businesses, whether you're an entrepreneur or a CFO or a finance leader. And how do you create a strong ethical environment so that people look towards CFO to set the tone, the culture tone. I think the ethical environment becomes really critical. Because if this goes wrong, the whole thing will just fall apart. So it's not about supporting and challenging alone. So support, challenge, and create an ethical environment and a culture, which means what's right, what's not right. Even today, unfortunately, and people at very senior positions, billion-dollar CFOs tell me, हाँ यार वो तो हम मतलब दिखा सकते हैं. Now that this दिखा सकते हैं culture is something which I think does not sit with the current young generation and young entrepreneurs, young CFOs. That दिखा सकते हैं मतलब what does it mean by दिखा सकते हैं? So show what it is. Don't show what it is not. So how do you be truthful, right? I mean that's something which CFO and the finance leaders set the tone. So I put down a few pointers on what is the expectation from finance partners, and these will range from driving business through strategic choices, portfolio, pricing, investment decisions. See, remember the bedrock and the basis of all this, or the way to do all this, technology plays a role. Technology plays a big role. And you should, in your respective sessions, figure out and question, where does technology come in? How can we use technology? And if we don't use technology, how do we do it? Both. If you're very small business, MSMEs, what kind of technology and tools can I use? And if you're a large corporation, the SAP-driven corporation, what kind of technology can I use? So either way, right? Yeah, this is my favorite comment always, data generation to data insights. How do you really move from a data point to insights, actionable insights? And let me improve it further, actionable insight. So one thing is to say, this is my margin, 68% gross margin, and 32% is my COGS. Second is that in that there may be some hidden elements of one-timers, one-time successes, one-time costs hidden. Actual trend may be different. So it's important to look beyond the data and get to insights. Yeah, the mix may be different. North, south, east, west, global, exports, or local. Some parts may be driving the business, very well, and some may be lagging, in the whole mix. So that will only come from insights, not from data. Data alone together as one number will not tell you anything at all. So how do you move from data to insights is critical. I also think that today's CEOs, today's business leaders do not want any surprises. Now, we feel pained about this because sometimes surprises do happen and we have to handle it as finance colleagues in the boardroom or in the company. But, with the help of, again, forecasting techniques, the trends and the past trends, using past trends to predict future, and through AI now, even more so, I think we can handle this better than we could do before. You guys can handle it much better than I did in my job, at least. And that's how I feel about it. So last minute surprises are not liked by anybody. I think there's another thing which I've always felt. So I had in my KRAs, last 10 years of my journey as a board member, the top line growth had a 50% weightage and bottom line growth had a 50% weightage in the number side. So equal weightage for top line growth and bottom line growth. As a finance guy, I can't say I'll deliver profit, but growth I don't care. No, that doesn't happen now anymore. In fact, we went an extent further. The whole board was evaluated on top line growth along with bottom line. So both these numbers were in everybody's KRA in different degree. In different degree, like, a legal person may not have the weightage of top and bottom line as much as I will have, or CEO will have more on top line, less on bottom line. I'll have more on bottom line ideally, though at 50-50, and less on top line. But we all had top line and bottom line orientation, and co-owning the growth becomes important. That we all co-own the growth. Yeah, and how do you proactively keep telling the company, the business, the board, the business leaders that what is happening in the company, what can go wrong, what is going right, what can go right? I think there's expectation across the company that it's the finance guy who will tell us first. So you act like a COO. You need to understand every aspect of the business. Whether you use digital, no digital, technology, no technology, AI, whatever tools you use, unless you understand the business. And again, I'm surprised to see that when I used to put KRAs for my senior finance leaders, I used to put like 7 days market work in a year, and they would say, "Bada mushkil hai, 7 days kaise nikalenge?" Now, that's not an acceptable answer at all. I mean, 7 days in a year, you can't go to the market, that's a problem. So you got to find time to go to the market, meet customers, meet vendors, distributors, suppliers, everybody. Only then can you understand. And I'll take you back. I'll give you an anecdote. This was 1988, and I was 89 actually, and Dr. Ashok Ganguly was my interviewer in Hindustan Levers. I was prepared enough by the company. So, you join the company, and 6 months later is the interview with the chairman, and chairman then decide whether to keep you or not. 6 months ke baad, can you imagine? And whether you are ready for being adopted or adapted as or accepted as a manager in HUL. So interviews happening, And he asked me, so explain to me, Mr. Jain, the soap making process. And I was prepared for this, okay? And I had asked this question to my CFO who had prepared me. Why would I know soap making process? What is there for me to know soap making process? It's so technical. And, we had a debate on the soap making process. And then Dr. Ganguly told me that, why I'm asking this question is that unless you know that there's glycerine in the mix and that gets wasted, you'll never be able to figure out efficiencies. So you as a finance leader need to understand what are the ingredients of soap making, what goes as a waste, and in the waste, what can you take out? A lot of entrepreneurs here, MSMEs, will understand that every part of the manufacturing process is important, even for a finance guy. And I learned a lot from that little, advice that, you let glycerine go away. So if you remember, Pear's soap is transparent because that has glycerine in it. They don't take glycerine out, but most soaps, Lux or Dove or all these, the glycerine is taken out. It can be drained out or it can be taken out and sold, used as a byproduct. And his point was that if you don't know the process, you'll never know this is getting wasted. So that was a huge learning, and whether it was that or later on I'm sitting in an open heart surgery in Johnson & Johnson medical devices business CFO role and seeing a 5-hour surgery and how the sutures are being used, and how the gut is being opened and the steel sutures being used to close the gut. Now, a lot of people tell me, your finance, what are you going to do with it? One doctor in Delhi asked me, oh, you want to meet me, but why? Your finance. I said, I want to understand, our products, its usage, and your view about our products. How can I be better? What can I do to make my products or services better for you? And then we spent 2 hours on this. And he says, very few finance people come and meet me, and you're one of them. And I appreciate why you would come and meet me. So I think customers also start appreciating once you reach out to them with an open mind to improve product or service, what we offer. Lastly, of course, this is a traditional role which all of us play about leading M&As or any joint ventures or licensing deals. I see some people taking pictures. You can source this from the organizers, I think, by presentation. I'm okay. There's nothing hidden about it. You can happily take the copy of the presentation if you want it. Yeah. So let's see how to move from past to future. And I would urge you to question the sessions which you go through today. That is it possible? Are they talking the same thing? Are they talking different? And how can you manage this journey? Yeah. We talked about it. Evaluating past is always a huge comfort zone for the CFOs, but predicting future is always more difficult. But that is what is required. That is what is expected. That is what is going to make a difference, not evaluating trends. Machines will do the trend evaluation. Machines are very capable today to really throw numbers at you. Yeah, we talked about data to insights, and that is what you'll use for forecasting. Now, forecast may go wrong, but at least forecasting with the basis of proper actionable insights. Yeah. Predictive tools and technologies, this is a big shift we need to make somewhere in our minds. That how, and we don't learn this in our education, unfortunately. I didn't learn it. I mean, maybe now it's being taught in some way, but still very, very elementary level. But journey to using technologies is going to be much quicker and much faster in the years to come. If we don't move with the technology, we'll be left behind. We'll be left behind. I used to close my financials manually on those 13-column green sheets. Yeah, and that time is gone completely. And now, day 2 or day 1, you have financials available with you. If you don't, there's a problem. And day 7, you have a board meeting and everything is being presented with insights. I'm talking about that. That's a journey we need to be taking. And it's going to become shorter and shorter. Yeah. Listed companies, people who work for listed companies, they know that they have to give a guidance these days. Guidance is expected, and that can only happen if you can predict some sort of future. Otherwise, extremely difficult. I talked about analytics. I think how do you use analytics as a competitive landscape is what you need to question. Analytics, whether you like it or not, sits with a CFO. It's not a finance thing. Anybody can do it. But as we are evolving, it's not a separate department or a separate group, maybe group, but part of CFO's overall responsibility. The company looks at CFO to provide analytics, and company expected me to provide analytics on HR, people data, on cost comparisons across the world, across the plants. They expected me to provide, compliance data, for example. There's a compliance officer, there's a chief compliance officer who doesn't report to me, but they would expect me to provide the, why? Because the trust. The finance guys are trusted. The number crunchers are still trusted. When they throw the numbers up to you, they're true numbers, one version of truth. So one version of truth comes from the finance people. And it's important that we understand analytics. I'm not saying we are experts in analytics, but we understand analytics and we understand use of technologies to create analytics. How do we use a particular technology to use to create right, meaningful analytics? Yeah. And I talked about a little bit about this, but off balance sheet, off financials, even those analytics are expected to be given by, like my biggest project, for example, I handled last few years was creating an entire digital framework for collecting sales, offtake, which is the secondary sales from the retailers to the consumers, linking it to my servers. So whatever is being sold is automatically caught by my computers across the country. An automated order, that whatever is being consumed in a day, next day was order created in the books, auto ordering. Imagine how powerful that can be, right? And you know that, people who dump stocks at the end of the month, sales guys to achieve the targets, they can be easily caught. That offtake is not happening. So why are you selling this? Or you're underselling or overselling particular product. So this is a huge thing about off balance sheet, off financials analytics. And that can, again, think about it, question it when you go through the digital sessions or sessions using digital, that how does this happen? And how can this happen? I think this is I go fast on this. Favorite has always remained, will always remain, cost optimization. You have a session on this, but I think here I would urge you to ask the speaker to tell the latest trends. How do you do, this is not a new thing, but how do you do this today, which is more effective, more efficient, and what are the new expectations coming in from the CFOs? Is it cost optimization in absolute numbers or percentages? Is it okay if my COGS is dropping by 2% or 1% every year? Or is it okay that my absolute dollars are going up, but percentage is dropping? Because there's inflation happening, right? You have to pay salaries, you have to pay increments. So, price increase possible, not possible with the cost I'm telling you, cost optimization will remain a consistent expectation from finance group, by the CEO and by the business people. So value enhancement or just cost reduction. This is a debate which always had, that I can't work on cost reduction in isolation. I can look at value enhancement through new business models, through new channels, through new way of delivering goods, through new way of buying goods, cutting out middlemen. So these are all possibilities of cost optimization, right? I talked about the glycerin example, so finding out wastages, finding out new ways of staffing. I was talking to a youngster who had a problem saying, my startup is sinking, I don't know what to do. So I said, how do you pay your people? So they're my employees, I pay them salaries. I said, convert them to contracts. People who get more, less than 20 lakh, convert them to contract and ask them to use presumptive tax, and pay tax on 50% of the money they get. But up to 20, you can actually pay tax on the 50% of the money you get if you are a professional delivering service to a company. So you'll save tax. So instead of giving increment, save tax for them. Various ways of cost optimization you can get into. Imagine for an 18 lakh salary person, if you pay tax on 9 lakh, you save tax on 9 lakh. You're giving a 3 lakh, in the hand of the employee. And these days, I don't think people care about I'm an employee or I'm on a contract. It doesn't matter. Because that thing about when I was growing up, I got to be, my service must be continuous. My father told me, you can't even have a gap of one day in the service. People laugh at, my kids laugh at me today. They say, how did you even do that? Yeah, I had to leave on Monday and join on Tuesday morning, next job. Today, people go on 3-month break, 6-month break, come back, join, and not so worried about titles, not so worried about how they are paid, whether they're consultant, contractors, or employees. So I think there are some interesting ways to handle it. Another thing, question yourself in the cost optimization session. Is there a concept of fixed cost? We say, oh, fixed cost. There's nothing called fixed cost. And again, I learned it one of my jobs. When I did zero-based budgeting, there's nothing called fixed cost. Even employee cost is not a fixed cost. You can let employees go and you can hire them back. Even offices are not a fixed cost. You can rent them, you can sell properties. Machines, they're not fixed cost because you can always lease them, sell them, lease them, whatever way you would manage it. You may not have any vehicles, any buildings, any machines. They can all be leased. Employees can be, a large field force, sales force in the pharma industry remains on contract. They are not employees, and it's very variable. So concept of fixed cost has gone away, from the businesses. And that can only happen if you question every cost. Absolute cost versus percentage, we talked about that. And yeah, technology and tools in cost management. I think you need to figure out what is the right technology and the right tool to manage to find out about the cost areas, cost improvement opportunities, and advise the board accordingly. Also cost alone or a full P&L including below the line items and cash. A lot of people focus on cost but not on cash, and companies go down. There are many companies which go down because of cash, not because of P&L, not because of cost, but because of cash. So that's another thing I'll want you to think about, that how do you focus on cash? I think ESG is another area, it's a new area, and you have a session on ESG. Again, talk about ESG, what are the expectations from finance people? I don't think in this room many people understand what is CFO's role in ESG. What am I supposed to do as a CFO? But again, it's a responsibility. There is a collection of data, analysis of data about sustainability and about new metrics coming in. Again, because analytics sits with CFO, companies are going to look at the CFO again to provide data on ESG. And reporting, what is the reporting requirement on ESG? Company will look at finance, but I would really urge you to see who's your right partner in the company, who can partner with you. Doing it alone would be a little difficult, but partnering with somebody who handles this, the technology person or the manufacturing person in the company will be a good partner to have to figure out the ESG reporting. I think Giri Girdhar is going to take this session. He's a very learned man. And then educating internal, external stakeholders about what's happening in are we carbon footprint, are we net negative, net positive, what is our journey, what are we going to do? Because you interface the shareholders and stakeholders. So responsibility of talking to the outside world is going to be yours, not of anybody else. And that's why this becomes important. And again, sometimes we find that we are not doing a great job on ESG, but if we have a roadmap for a longer term, 3 to 5 years roadmap, and that shows a good picture, that should be presented. We should talk about that. That I may not be great today, but I have a clear roadmap to be net neutral, for example. And check it out. Is it fully evolved, the role? Is it evolving? If it is evolving, what are the stages? Ask your speaker in the session that, how is ESG going to help me? What should I do? What are the new skills I need to have? Are there any conference sessions? Some kind of, some kind of learning opportunity somewhere about ESG. Now, I can't say, oh, this is not accounting. I don't understand ESG, but it's not accounting. I'll not go there. No, we need to go there because you are the business CEO shadow. Literally, I mean, you're the only person who knows all aspects of business, including finance, HR, legal, compliance, supply chain, and products, pricing. Not even CEO. Finance guy is the only person in the entire company who knows all aspects of business. So if I were to conclude, I would really say that the role is evolving, and from being, the old-time accountant role, accounting, compliance, and control is becoming a growth partner, The role is now becoming a growth partner for the board and the CEO. And again, from a conscious keeper to a culture builder. I talked about ethics in the beginning. So one is conscious keeper, telling what's happening, what's not happening. Second is culture builder, proactively telling people what to do, what not to do. That's the role change which we are seeing. And from being a reporter of data to present actionable insights. So these are the three aspects of change. I'm leaving some thoughts with you. And when you go through the sessions, go through it. Yeah, I think this was my last slide and my time is up. It says here. Thank you very much. If I have 2 minutes for questions, can I ask people? Anybody has questions? I'm happy to take now or in the session outside in the breaks. I'm here the whole day. So catch me if you want to, but I'm around. Anybody has any immediate thoughts, questions? Yeah. Diksha, am I okay to take a couple of questions?
Good morning, Neeraj, and thanks for this wonderful insight. Just had a question. You talked about AI and technology. I attended a few seminars over the last 6 months where there was a lot of discussion around ChatGPT and the relevance of finance in this whole thing, right? So maybe if you can just spare a minute and give your thoughts on that, Neeraj.
It's very, very new. I wouldn't trust ChatGPT at this stage, not for accounting. For decision making, yeah, I want to go on a holiday, you put 6 days I want to go to Jordan, give me a planned itinerary, great starting point. You'll get a nice itinerary in 40 seconds. Can be a good starting point. But you want to say, I want to take a decision on pricing for my product and these are my parameters. If it throws something at you, please question it, don't accept it as it is. Because you don't know what are the aspects available. Because it is using data available in the universe. You don't know what data is available, what is data unique to you, which is proprietary to you and not to anybody else. Data may not be available in the public domain. ChatGPT is picking up data in the public domain, but very powerful. We might find it's a good starting point. So not beyond that at this stage. Anybody else? Yeah, please go ahead. It's okay, I can hear you.
I hope so I'm from the healthcare. So my typical question is you said that you've been to Johnson & Johnson and asked about the sutures and all. So can you just deep dive into that? Can you just give a deep insight into that, what you have done into that?
Okay, so no. So I give example of suture because the use of a suture, in a surgery gives a very different feeling, goosebumps. Correct. Oh wow, my product which I'm talking about, which I'm making in my factory is actually being used and doctor appreciating it. Or telling me, yaar ye kuch na curved suture chahiye tha yahan pe, ye movement theek nahi ho raha needle ka yahan se, needle is not correct. So seeing live surgery and seeing a heart surgery and use of suture, how critical it is for the surgeon at that time. If it is not right, how wrong it can go. And we're talking about saving lives here, you're in the industry, right? So it's so critical. And as a finance guy to appreciate that, you start relating more and more to your company and products. That's the only thought I had, that for anything, whether it was soap making, and I'm standing in the pan room in HUL soap making room, I'm seeing Lux being made. It's a very different feeling than seeing on the shop. So, products being made or services being offered and you in the market going with the person offering services is a very different feeling. And you also relate to the person who's standing there, right? So the doctor, I relate to the doctor. I relate to the salesman. I relate to the vendor. It becomes a very personalized kind of feeling then.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
Sir, in continuation to what he has asked, my fellow has asked, sir, don't you think if CFO goes into this one and goes into these interactions, don't you find that this is something unwelcome, compulsive interference to a marketing domain?
So sometimes yes, but we are not taking their decisions. You have to tell them, I have come to learn. Number one, be humble, have humility, say, I am not come to give you any advice. I'm coming to learn. Number one. Number two, get CEO's blessing before doing that. You must have CEO's blessing. That is important. Exactly. Convince the CEO that, listen, it's important for me to do it. Can I do it? Would you really want us to do it?
Say in normal course, CEO will not allow. CEO will say, marketing head is there, he will take care of that.
Tell the CEO that I can do my job better. Day-to-day job, it'll become better, he'll allow you to do it. But आपको अपना काम खुद ही करना पड़ेगा. कोई काम आपका और कोई करने वाला नहीं है. Tell him, assure the CEO that I'll do my job. So move away from input to output. Inputting 8 hours a day to output कितना मेरा आ रहा है, चाहे मैं काम 4 घंटे ही करूँ, it's okay. And by 4 hours I spend in the market, that's important. And CEOs will accept. A lot of CEOs, my friends who are CEOs. I think Diksha is telling me last question, okay. Huh.
Now, poor CFO is supposed to take care of compliances.
Yeah.
He is supposed to take care of all the nuisances, whatever is happening, related to HR, related to cost optimization, related to future projections, and everything.
Yeah.
The technology, the way, each and everything, Chat GPT and everything I am also involved into. And I need to know the business also. Do you feel, and this is my repetitive question everywhere, I must have asked you in past also, do you think we need CEO? Let us finance people take care of operations and executive role also. Because most of the CFOs are becoming CEOs nowadays.
CEO mindset. You need to have a CEO mindset.
Because after looking at all the slides and your experience, I think we should be at that level.
You have to be. You have to see. You have to have the CEO mindset. You may be the CFO, but CEO mindset. And CEO does a lot of other things which you and I will not do. Facing the world, facing the external world, facing the stakeholders all the time outside. That's a tough job. Facing the government, it's a tough job, right? So let me take over all the internal things and customer things, and you take over the rest of it. That's how the partnership works. And number two, you got to prioritize. There's a lot of it on the plate.
Indeed.
You got to prioritize. You can't give up on compliance. That's your rosy roti, bread and butter, right?
Absolutely.
Business learning is for your own improvement of your work. Otherwise, you can't do it. Rest everything will fall in place. I can keep doing one by one all the improvement efficiency parts, but I like to learn the business, and I'm going to make sure that my compliances are in order. These two things I will never give up on.
Perfect.
And then slowly pick up.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you
so much. Thank you. I hope I've done justice, and I'm available to you guys also the day.